Yo, what's up, guys? So today I'm going to teach you one of my favorite tricks of all time called the Lucky Coin. So I first learned this in Card College Volume 1, but the whole sort of thinking behind the premise goes all the way back to the 70s by a guy named Sam Schwartz, and he has an effect called Working Against Time, which uses an egg timer, and it's a very cool trick, and I highly recommend checking that out. John Armstrong also has a very similar effect that he calls the Lucky Chip, which uses a poker chip, and there's been different variations on that since then, with guys like Eric Tate using the Lucky Chip gimmick, and I'm going to teach you my version right now. Now, while I use the same sort of props, I completely changed the overall presentation and the handling. What I'm doing is sort of related to an old trick by Harry Lorraine called the sloppy card trick. That trick can be found in his book Close-Up Card Magic, and honestly I just want to flex that I have this book and that it's actually signed by Harry Lorraine himself. So here this is. I have this, so let's get into it. So for this, I'm going to just imagine that I have a spectator here helping me out for this trick, alright? So today we're going to test our ESP or psychic abilities, alright? Just to make sure and see if we can come up with something pretty cool. So first we'll need a card picked. So as I drop cards, just say stop anytime. Stop right there. I remember that card. I won't look. And honestly, they can also shuffle the deck as much as they want to, just to give it a good mix. And honestly, this is a real shuffle that they can do. None of that card college stuff, alright? So they can shuffle as much as they want to, like this, alright? So like I said, this is a sort of experiment on psychic ability, alright? So we'll see if we have psychic powers today. Me and you, alright? So here we go. Alright, so what I'm going to do is mix some piles of cards, and as I'm doing this, give it a cut too. As I'm doing this, you can just name any number, say from 1 to 10, that you might feel lucky about, or just any number that might feel good to you at the time. Alright, so as I'm doing this, you can name any number, maybe name 4. Alright, so we'll do this, and we'll just make some piles like this. Now, you could have picked any card by saying stop as I drop them, and you could have named any number. And what I'm gonna try to do is sort of try to get a vibe of where your card might be in this big mess. All right. So what I'll do is I'll take my lucky poker chip that I carry with me all the time. All right. So what I'll do is I'll just sort of try to get a vibe on one of these piles here, because your card has to be in one of these piles. All right. So maybe I think it's somewhere around here. I think I think it's this one right here. I'm gonna lay the chip on there, on that pile, because I feel really good about it. All right, so we'll take the rest of these away, and we'll try to see if we can get lucky here. All right, so what we'll do is I'll hand you the chip, and sort of just like a game of Monopoly or like a board game. I want you to take the chip and, what was it, 4? And count down to your number. All right, so that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll take these away. And honestly, was your card any one of these? It was not, alright? So, would you be impressed or would you be shocked if your card was honestly under this chip? We'll take a look. Let's see. There it is, the 2 of spades. Was that your card? Perfect. Now I know what you're thinking. All that for just a silly joke. And sort of the payoff would have to be that that's actually your card. After all that randomness, that was actually your card. We'll take a look, and it's the 2 of spades. Alright, so for this, you will need a couple of things. You will need a pencil, and you'll also need a poker chip with a little card attached to it. Now, I actually make these, and I sell them for very cheap. And if you are interested in purchasing one of these, honestly, it's $7 that I sell these for. Right? I make them and sell them for $7. And I'll leave some information down below if you want to buy one. Alright, so you have your poker chip that you just received in the mail from your boy Sean Devine. And what you want to do is take the matching card out. And by the way, you can request the card that you want. I can do any card that you wish, or any color of chip that you want as well, alright? So anyway, you have that, and you have your pencil. Now what you want to do is 2 things. You want to mark the card 2 ways. One, you want to take sort of the side of the graphite there and just rub sort of close to the index corner here. Rub it on the the edge of the card. All right, this is called edge marking. Do it on both sides so you have a good edge mark there. That way, when you put it in the deck, you can see clearly where that card is. All right, so you can see that little dot right there when you look at the side of the deck, and that's on both sides. Now you also want to make pencil dots on the card, and what that is just taking the pencil, and on the white border on the corner here, you can see that if I show it to you up close, you can see those two you can see those two pencil dots right there and right there. If you look closely, you can see it. It's kind of hard to see on camera, and only a magician would know it's there when you're looking for it. All right, so it might seem obvious, but trust me, nobody ever sees a pencil dot. All right, so this forced dotted card will go on the bottom of the deck, and then this will go into your pocket, and you're ready to perform this trick. Now you can do any force that you want to force the card. In fact, I know maybe 20 forces you can look at. I'll leave a link down below for those. But the one I used in the demonstration was a dribble force, and honestly I think is the best one to use in this case because it just seems so fair and so like random. All right, so a good way to get ready for the dribble force is by having the card on the bottom of the deck, and give it an overhand shuffle and stop when you have maybe like a quarter, maybe a third of the deck, and then run one in jog, and then throw the rest on top. So you have the in jog right below the third of the deck, which has the force card right above it. So you're like this. Now what you're going to do is push down on the in jog. That way you can get a thumb break right below that force card. Right now what you're going to do is dribble the cards on the table, and they ask them to say stop as you drop cards. Now what's going to happen is you're just going to automatically stop on that big thumb break there. They say stop, and then you show them the card. It just happens automatically almost. All right, you just show them the card, and then dribble the rest down and say, look, pick up the cards and give them a good shuffle. And that already seems so fair and impossible. I mean, when stuff like this happens, there's like no way they can assume that you could find their card now, right? So, because first of all, that didn't seem like a force, and that's going to really seem like you can't find the card now, right? So, which is good. Two very good ingredients for card magic, all right? So what you're going to do is, when they shuffle the deck, take it back. And all you're going to do is look for that edge mark, all right? So you take it back, look at the edge, and look for the edge mark. And what you're going to do is cut the cards, maybe, 5 to 10 cards above it, all right? So you can see the edge mark is right there. All I'm going to do is cut the cards. So I've got about maybe 10 or so cards above that edge mark now. So, the whole presentation is doing sort of a game or an experiment with ESP, seeing if we can get lucky and make something cool happen, all right? So you tell them you're going to make piles of cards, and you can do whatever, feels right to you. And what you're going to do is you're going to spread out cards like this, and you're going to look for the corner, the dotted card, all right? So you spread, I'm going to make some piles of cards, and then you just take all the cards above that pencil dotted card, which is obviously the force card, all right? So I'm going to make some piles of cards like this, and again, just spread cards like this, spot the dot, and then lay the cards there. So the second pile you make will be the pile with their force card on top, all right? So you keep making piles like this, and after 2 or 3, you stop and say, look, as I'm doing this, just name any number you want, maybe a lucky number between, say, 1 and 10. All right, so you're doing this, and let's say they name 4, all right? So what you're going to do is you want to put 3 cards, or whatever number they have, or they name, if they name 4, you put 3. If they name 7, you put 6 cards on top of that pile with their force card on there, right? So in this case, they name 4, we put 3 cards on top, as if we're just keep doing this like this with the same rhythm. All right, so the whole thing has to have the same flow, all right? So you're here. As I'm doing this, just name any random number that you want to say between, 1 and 10, maybe 4, all right? So you can see my whole demeanor, and nothing paused, nothing was like, okay, where do I put it? Like, no, it was very smooth, and it flowed naturally with what I'm doing, right? So you can see I put the force pile there, and then I took 3 cards off and put it there, as if, it was all not planned, like it was sloppy. And your whole reasoning behind this is you're saying, look, I'm just going to go on instinct and make some piles of cards like this from where I feel the cards need to go. Now, you say, your card has to be somewhere in these piles. And in fact, I want to find it. So to make it easier for myself, I will take my lucky poker chip that I keep with me all the time. So you pull it out, and when you pull it out, you want to make sure that you're not exposing the gimmick there. So when you pull it out, just take a peek at it. So you just flip it around if it's not in the right orientation, all right? So what you're gonna do is, wiggle this chip around, and it's sort of like you want to make just, hot and cold, basically. You just act here. So, I think right around here feels good. Maybe, no, I think I'll go here. This one feels right. All I'm gonna do is put it on the force pile. You know what you're doing. Now you just take all these piles away and say, look, I really do think that your card is in there, but the crazy thing would be is, what number did you name? You named 4, right? So take this chip. So just take the chip off, hand it to them, and spread the cards like this. And the number they named 4, their card that they picked, is now at number 4 after all that, which is crazy, right? So you ask them to take the chip like this, and just like a board game or Monopoly, count to the 4th card. All right, so they do that. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you take all the cards away like this, and then you say, look, honestly, was your card any one of these? They say no, and then you have a perfect miracle, because now you can be like, would you be impressed if your card was honestly under that poker chip? And this claim already seems impossible enough, so when you do this, you say, look, your card is indeed under the poker chip, and then that might get a laugh, because it's kind of funny, it's a small card on the poker chip, haha, under the poker chip. And then you say, that's kind of unfair, because we went through all that just for a stupid joke. And then you say, well, what would really make this trick good is if your card was actually underneath that poker chip. And then you just slam it on there, do whatever you want to do, and say, take a look at that card. And then they turn it over, and it's their card that they freely picked from a shuffle deck that they shuffled again themselves to lose it back in. And man, you can't, that's just the kind of card trick that's just people remember about. Because they picked any card, they shuffled the deck, they picked any number, and then it's all about, trying to predict the future. And then I love this trick, and I hope you love it too. And again, get a hold of me about this poker chip if you want one, because I do make them, and yeah. Now, I will mention that this is not the original Lucky Coin routine. The original used a top change, all right? So what would happen is if you force you force a card on them, and then you control to the top of the deck, and then you spread the cards like this, and then you hand them the chip, and they can do this. They do this themselves, and you ask them to lay the chip anywhere in the spread, and then you take away all the cards that are not touching the chip. So all of these are not touching the chip. So what you will do now is gather all the cards, making sure that the force card stays on top, and then you will put the chip away, and then do this. And now you have them place the chip on any card like this. Whoops, don't do that. Have them place the chip on any card. Say, was any of these your card? They say no. Put these back in the middle. And you say, would you honestly be impressed if your card was under the chip? As per the routine, boom, there it is. They get a laugh. As you're getting a laugh looking at that, you just do a top change, whoop, and then say, would you honestly be impressed if your card was really under the chip? And then you do that to reveal that's under the chip. Any presentation or handling is fun to do, and I encourage you to try out both. Alright guys, so thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It means the world to me, and if you got some value out of it, if you learned something new, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It means the world to me, and it helps me out more than you might think.